Hey, good morning, guys. Welcome to our seventh midweek mini Bible study. I know that last time it was my turn for this, I went way overboard and went for 20 minutes, which is not really mini, is it? But hopefully I'll be shorter. Just check the timestamp. I'm pretty sure it will be. This morning we're going to go over Psalm 11 together. So if you can take your Bible and get to Psalm 11, that would be fantastic. Here we go from the NLT. I trust in the Lord for protection. So why do you say, fly like a bird to the mountains for safety? The wicked are stringing their bows and fitting their arrows on the bowstrings. They shoot from the shadows at those whose hearts are right. The foundations of law and order have collapsed. What can the righteous do? But the Lord is in his holy temple. The Lord still rules from heaven. He watches everyone closely, examining every person on earth. The Lord examines both the righteous and the wicked. He hates those who love violence. He will rain down blazing coals and burning sulfur on the wicked, punishing them with scorching winds. For the righteous Lord loves justice. The virtuous will see his face. So I just want to walk through, I shouldn't have closed my Bible. I just want to walk through a couple of spots here through Psalm 11. And the first place I'd like to direct your attention to is the very first line, actually, which says, I trust in the Lord for protection. And I thought, man, what an applicable line. Like, what a line for this time of COVID-19, when safety and all of these things are like paramount importance. This Psalm of David says, I trust in the Lord for protection. It just seems like in this time when everything changes, like phases change and plans change, and sometimes it even seems like facts change. We trust in the Lord for protection. We don't need to take matters into our own hands and go crazy. We trust the Lord for protection. And that works on both sides. We don't have to be so worried about our protection that we take matters into our own hands and live lives that are so protected and bubbly that we seem like we don't trust the Lord for protection. On the other side, we don't live life like we're testing God. We don't do whatever we want because we can, because we trust the Lord for protection. No, we just trust the Lord on both sides of the equation. We don't go overprotective and we don't go over risky. We trust the Lord. I think that's so cool. And I think that David was probably concerned with maybe more physical attacks, like it says, like the wicked are fitting arrows on their bowstrings. They shoot from the shadows at those whose hearts are right. The foundations of law and order have collapsed. It seems like David is concerned about physical attack, and probably is. And we're maybe concerned with more spiritual attack, or even with stuff like the George Floyd killing. Everything can seem so overwhelming that the foundations of law and order have collapsed. You just have to look at the news feeds of what's happening in America. It doesn't take much to think, oh my goodness, the foundations of law and order have totally collapsed. Everything is out of control. And like David says in that question at the bottom of verse 3 there, what can the righteous do? Like, everything's going crazy. What can we even do? And this is where David's trust in the Lord and ours really kind of hits the road. The Lord has not ceased to reign. It says that in verse 4. The Lord is in his holy temple. The Lord still rules from heaven. It may not seem like the Lord rules from heaven in this turbulent events that are happening, not just with the virus, but with the George Floyd thing, with all of the unrest around the world. It might seem like God has quit and let the world spin on. But he hasn't. He watches closely. He's watching men and women of both righteous and evil persuasion very carefully. Verse 4, it says, he watches everyone closely, examining every person on earth, both the righteous and the wicked. And both the righteous and the wicked are going to get what they deserve. And I mean that in the truest sense of justice, that the righteous will be rewarded for the righteous things they have done, and the wicked will be rewarded for the evil things that they have done. But it's not quite as simple as that, is it? We've all done things that are righteous. We've all done things that are wicked. And God is going to reward us, bring consequences for both the good and the bad that we have been responsible for. God loves justice. Isn't that a great line there in verse 7? For the righteous Lord loves justice. And so you don't need to worry. You can trust the Lord for protection. You can trust the Lord for justice. It has to do on a big and a small scale. It's so easy to worry about what the other guy is dealing with. I know that when I discipline my kids, the kids are not necessarily as concerned with my role in their lives with justice as opposed to my role in the other guy's life. Like, we can get really concerned about that when it comes to justice. Like, oh, I get it. Like, I understand what you're doing here, God, but I'm just kind of worried about that guy over there. I don't think he gets it. I think your justice might be wasted on him. Make sure you're extra just to him. And we don't need to do that because we trust God. And when I talk about my kids, it's hard for kids, I think, sometimes to trust their parents in matters of sibling rivalry or fairness because they only see things from their angle, from their perspective. I know that when I discipline my kids, they're often quite concerned about what I'm doing in the life of another person. Not that the other person wouldn't get it, but because they're concerned about the fairness of my actions with regard to the other kid. And I believe that that's what David is trying to reassure us, or maybe the Lord is trying to reassure us through this psalm, is that the Lord loves justice. And even though we don't understand sometimes what the Lord is doing in other people's lives, other countries, or maybe even with this whole virus thing, we have to trust God. I believe that's the theme of the entire psalm. We don't understand what's going on, but we trust God. The foundations of law and order have collapsed. What can the righteous do? But we trust God because he loves justice. He will not let anybody get away with anything, good or bad. He won't let any good deed go unrewarded. He will not let any bad deed go unpunished. No matter what happens on any level, we trust God. He will do what is right. He will do what is just and fair. Even if we don't get it, we will trust God. And I just want to pass that on to you today. It's actually a pretty quick study in Psalm 11, but I think it's a basic truth that we need to understand every day, that no matter what we face, God is trustworthy. We will trust him no matter what. God bless you. I hope you guys have a great week. We'll see you on Sunday.